Hey everybody, welcome back to the amazing channel. I am GILLIANBERRY. Today we have a very special guest in store for you guys. We have Dan, and he's been on before when he did a very long juice fast. He has actually just hit his 1 year anniversary of fully raw vegan. So I am dressed up for that today. I know Dan always likes to wear a suit, so I matched that. And this is going to be a great one. Let's get into it. Dan is awesome. We're going to find out all his results. And you guys, I reached out to you guys on Instagram. You gave me a bunch of great questions for Dan as well. So Dan, what is that you're drinking and how has this year been? Let us know. Give us all the details.
Yeah, so this is a lemon ginger blast. I think most people are probably, if they're familiar with your channel, they're very familiar with lemon ginger blast, Blue Corona. One of my favorites. I drink one every single day.
Okay, amazing. I do too. Now that you just said Lou Corona, I have to let you guys know I'm going to LA in a couple months in July, and I'm going to meet Lou Corona. Him and I talk on the phone all the time. For those of you who don't know, he is about to turn 72. He looks 42. I'll pop a picture up on the screen. He is the healthiest person I've ever met in my whole life. He is my mentor. Most people know who he is, but some of you might not. But actually, it's very exciting. I am just announcing Lou and I are hosting an event, and it's a free event, and it's going to be in Orange County, California in July, on July 6th in the evening. So I'm going to introduce him and talk a little bit about myself, and then he is going to do a talk. And after, we're going to mingle, do a Q&A, and it's going to be really awesome. And it's free. It's a small, intimate venue of about 500 people. So I'll put the link down below, and I would love to see you guys there. But he's awesome. Okay, so back to your story. I can't wait to hear. How has the year gone? How are you feeling 1 year in on fully raw foods?
So first thing I want to say, and this isn't to boast or brag or anything, but I do want to say, I want to point out the obvious for anybody that's listening. To make it a year fully raw is quite a feat. I mean, first of all, most people probably never really necessarily want to. Like, I never really up to the point where I actually found myself doing this. I never thought to myself like, oh, I really want to be a raw vegan and spend, eat nothing but raw, uncooked fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds for an entire year. But that's a long time. That is a long time. 365 days is a long time. I am, however, including, for those that know and have watched, the first 100 days of my raw food journey was a juice fast. And so obviously you can,
it's
that video for anybody who hasn't seen it. That was an amazing, like, spiritual journey, but that was like, almost an entire third of the 1 year. So transitioning was kind of covered on the second time that you've allowed me to come on the channel. And I do just want to say thank you so much, because this is such a privilege and an honor to share my story, because this is the kind of stuff, this is the kind of content that inspired me to embark on this journey. I never would have been able to do this, never would have even been the least bit interested in doing this, had it not been for people like me and like you that share this and get in front of a camera and say, this was not easy. This is rare to be. I mean, we're in the top 1% of 1% in terms of, and some people think it's crazy, and maybe it is a little crazy, but when you look at the alternative, to me, that's a whole lot more crazy. To live the way I used to live and eat the things I used to eat on a very regular basis is insane to me in comparison to what I'm doing now. So has it been a challenge? Absolutely, it's been a challenge. There's probably socially and mentally has been like the biggest, thing to overcome, because, and I think most people realize this, but until you've done like a year or more of fully raw, you don't really get it, how we bond over food, for one thing, and how that's been like built into our culture and society. And that's not a bad thing at all. But like when you go out, or it's just, food is everywhere, and it's not usually raw vegan. There are usually easy ways to get, and I always bring my stuff. I always have a stash, even if, like, we went out Saturday, been doing some activism, some animal activism, and afterwards we go out and everybody's obviously vegan, but not necessarily raw vegan. But so I brought like raw crackers and raw cheese and fruit salad and all this stuff. So it's been going really good. I'd say for the last about 5 months, so almost half of the time I've been doing this raw food journey, raw food experiment, I've been intermittent fasting. And that's a tip I got really specifically from you and my brother Kevin. Shout out to my brother Kevin, I love you. But I did a little research, kind of like with raw, and I was like, this is amazing. So I stop eating at 6 p.m. and I don't start eating until I break my fast at noon every day. And I break it with a lemon ginger blast. And then I usually roll right on in. And when you only have a 6-hour window to get in all your calories, and I'm not trying to like cut back on my calories at all, you have to eat a lot. And I love it. I mean, I really, really love raw foods. I love the way it makes me feel. I have so much energy, sometimes too much energy. I think it kind of is a bit weird for people. Yeah, because I just go, 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 go nonstop. I mean, but I sleep really, really good too. Crazy awesome dreams. I've started to dream journaling. I mean, my whole life in the last year has completely transformed. I've recommitted myself to doing yoga every single day. So I do an hour of yoga every single morning. And I've been doing that for about 9 months. I haven't missed one day. You know what I mean? Because when you commit to, this is my experience, like commit to raw food, like that's a big, in terms of discipline. And like it, to me, it kind of opened up the floodgates of like, what else could I do? What other healthy habits could I like ingrain into my daily habits? And anyway, yeah, that's kind of the quick rundown of how it's been going. It's been going really, really, really well. My influence in community, online and otherwise, has been, there's a lot of lives I've affected in a positive way, most of which of course are my immediate family, my wife and my children, my mom and dad. We all live under one roof. And my little girl, my youngest, she just turned 2. And she will slam down some smoothie, man. I make a really, powerful, very nutritious, dense smoothie. And she'll sit there and just suck that sucker down like, crazy. And then my 2 other children, they're eating more raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds than they've ever had before. My wife included. My wife's juicing pretty much consistently with me now. Like when I make juice, we make juice. She drinks a ton of it. And she's even done a little bit of juice fasting. So it's just cool to see the ripple effects of something like this, because yeah, it's great for me, but it's really cool when you can start to help the people around you too, or you see that your influence is affecting them in a positive way.
That is, I agree. But even the ripple effect it's had in your own life now, doing yoga and all these, it leads to all these other positive things just by starting to take care of yourself and nourishing yourself really well, like on a cellular level like that. And I'm proud of you. 1 year, this is amazing. Talk about commitment. And do you think that this year has gone better? This last full year you can reflect on has gone better and been a better year because you've chosen to eat this way versus if you stayed on your old diet?
Way, way, way better. I think I've alluded a little bit to some of the struggles I've had with just addiction in general, addictions of all kinds. I mean, something as subtle as like addiction to a screen with my phone, little games and stuff. I get sucked into those, and social media addictions, and then hardcore stuff like drugs and alcohol and everything in between. And so this has really helped me to, I don't want to say like be rid myself of any addiction, because I'm not, of course, I'll probably never be completely like, perfect in that regard, but I feel like I've really, really come a long way in that. And then also I think I'm just showing up as the best version of me that I've ever had and it's affected all different all different parts of my life, from work to my personal relationships and otherwise. But yeah, I can't even really imagine what I would be like. I mean, I've had some mental health struggles too, pretty major mental health struggles in the last 5 years. I've actually been institutionalized 3 times for manic psychotic episodes. And I mean, of course, it's speculative, but I really think my diet had a huge part in that. And I think cleaning it up to the extent that I have has really helped my mental health as well. And I think my wife would agree.
Yeah, no one knows that better than you, right?
Yeah.
And what would you say for anybody who's wondering, would be a full list of like all the benefits you've experienced and all the changes you experienced from transitioning to a lifestyle of only raw food?
Oh man, it would take me a good long time to really get a full extent. But I think at the core of it for me is it really has been a massive spiritual transition. It's been a spiritual awakening of sorts. And when something like that occurs in your life, for those that have experienced it, it really tends to affect every single other part. So it's holistic in terms of, yes, of course, there's physical benefits. I have more energy. I have more flexibility, more strength, faster recovery, blah, blah, blah. Skin's better than it's ever been before. My joint pain is almost minimal. When I do hurt myself, like I've pulled muscles, I lift pretty heavy regularly too. So I'll have like mild energy or injuries as I do that. Really, really rapid recovery on that. So there's that aspect, the mental health, the clarity, the focus, the ability to just have a more positive, like mental outlook. I think in general, that's way improved. And I've always, I think, kind of been above average in that regard, but now it's like taking it to a whole nother level. And then, but yeah, spirituality, I don't know how to describe it other than I feel very, very connected, like to other people, to nature. I find myself very, very attracted to, like, I've always kind of like enjoyed being outside. Who doesn't like to like go to the beach and be connected? But now I'll like just take a walk down our little road here, and I'll find myself some days doing that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times with my kids individually, my wife, my mom, my dad. Just to be outside and just breathing in that, you know, as Ralph Smart says, that good ass prana, and just loving the sun, soaking up the sun. So there's, again, I could go on and on and on. It's really hard to describe all the different, but at the core of it, I really feel like it's a spiritual thing. I totally fell for the philosophy of like, we are what we eat. And when we eat life, it changes our entire life. We become life. And I didn't realize it before, but you know, just our normal diet, dead food. And I'm not talking just dead in terms of like heat processing it and killing off the enzymes and the life force in the food, but I'm talking about my habits of really, really enjoying and consuming a lot of dead animal flesh or meat. You know what I mean? And again, with the activism and the ethical journey of veganism that I've been on too, that is a huge part of it for me now, is to just see how crazy it is that I was just not just like every now and then, like every single meal, meat was at the core of that. You know what I mean? And again, hindsight now, it's just like crazy to think about how different it is. And I know, and now I can see why some people go like, man, that's crazy. That's extreme. And it's like, well, when you see slaughterhouse footage, that's way more extreme than like eating watermelon, you know, or grapes or whatever I'm into at the moment. Cause I go through these little stages where I'll just, you know, binge out on, like for one example, my buddy Chris, he's got a huge blueberry farm. They came into season. He was selling 5 pounds of blueberries for $20. And these were like really fat, juicy, sweet, amazing. And I've never been like a huge blueberry fan, but I was like, I'm getting 20 pounds of blueberries, you know? And then I did it again and again. And I was just like, I loved getting into that little, and Magri, you know, Magri Jade, one of my good friends and coach, she's like, careful, because you can eat too many blueberries. I guess there's some kind of enzyme or something in them. Anyway, so,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been a whole complete life transformation, like in a good way, positive way.
Amazing. And did you find you got bored with the food? I know some people think I want to do raw, but it's like only salads or I might get bored. Did you miss the old foods or get tempted to eat the cooked foods at all? Or did you feel pretty satisfied and excited about the foods? And you have a YouTube channel. I'll link it down below. And
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so did I ever get bored with the food? No, I mean, I'm just one of those weirdos. My wife hates it. Like I could eat the same thing every single day. Like my smoothie that I've been making lately is like, it's a banana date cacao, but it's got a ton of other superfoods but that's the base, is like bananas, dates, and cacao. I put a little cinnamon in there too. And then a ton of like sprouts and just like it's really, really good. But I do it every day, and I've been doing it every day for like months. And I don't care. Like it's just, I get excited about it, like really excited to drink it and enjoy it. But I go through stages too. Like, well, I'll be doing my salad kick where I make these huge salads at night and I like don't eat for a couple hours. So I'm like really hungry, and it takes like 45 minutes to an hour to eat this. It's a stupid big bowl of salad, but it's so good. And so, no, I don't really get bored. Do I ever miss it? Yes and no. I mean, it's weird. Like it kind of like when I quit smoking cigarettes, you know, the smell of a cigarette, even to this day, it still entices me. Like some people quit smoking and they're like, oh, I can't stand the smell. I'm not one of those people. I smell that tobacco and I'm like, oh man, you know, that I want to suck one down.
Yeah.
But when I look at like what goes along with it, okay, because you can't just, you know, the short term of like, oh man, I wish I could have a piece of pizza. that's such a short term, like, yes, it will probably, taste good or whatever. It'll tickle my taste buds for a matter of a few minutes, but the after effect of that is just like, I can't compare how good I feel eating raw foods to the alternative. Again, it's such a drastic change. And it's the same thing like smoking a cigarette. Yeah, sure. I'll get that instant, like, oh, the nicotine, the little buzz or whatever. But then what comes with that? Well, for me, it was a terrible, terrible addiction. I mean, nicotine was one of the most difficult things to completely eliminate. But my wife's done it. I have several people that have overcome that addiction, but it's not easy, you know what I mean, at all. So in terms of other addictions that I've dealt with and overcome in my life, this has not been that hard at all. I mean, again, probably the hardest part is just the social mental thing, because we're all raised up to think that it's weird to only eat raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. But I'm a huge advocate and believer now that this is our species specific diet. So I love that you say things like, to each their own. It might not be for everybody, but I believe, that really, and I hope I never go back, but if I ever do, I think it'll probably be because I'm just weak and I haven't been able to continue, because it does take an effort to commit to something like this, but it's 1,000% worth it, if that makes any sense. So,
is it worth it? Has it been worth it? Because I know socially all these things change. And have you checked your blood work at all? Did you check it before and then now, or have you checked it?
I have an appointment. I think it's either this week or next week to go get my blood work done. And I don't know if it's possible. I'd love to share that. I'm going to be sharing it on social media. So I didn't get any done before, so I don't really know how bad or good it was. I do know I had some physical issues going on health-wise, nothing crazy, but like it's got to be good. So I mean, I'm curious to do that. I'm normally not really into the whole doctor scene or blood work thing or any of that, really. Like when I got out of the military in 2008, I kind of said I'm not ever going back to the doctor, just because I've seen so much not good stuff come from that approach that I just don't really care for that. But in this I think will be a powerful testament to say, hey, look, here's my blood work, check it out. Because I have a lot of people now, when you put yourself out there on social media, I mean, a lot of people are going to be critical, and I welcome the criticism, because I too would have been extremely skeptical, extremely critical. I probably would have been the one making comments and saying things. So, but now I just want to go, hey, look, see, check it out. Like, here's the proof. It's the blood work's good, or maybe it's not. And that'll be a good opportunity to go, hey, I need to, supplement with something. And I'm all about, if I need it, I'll do it,
By the time this video goes up, that might be up already. I don't know. Depends when this video goes up. If it does, I'll link it below, but I'll link your channel in your socials. And a lot of people come on and they say, Jill, I want to do the raw foods lifestyle. And they see my reels on Instagram or what I eat, or just they see videos on my channel. And they say, but I wouldn't feel full. Like I'd feel hungry all day long. And some people complain of that. So has that been your experience, or do you have any tips? I think the intermittent fasting does help with that, but do you have any tips for anyone on that?
Yeah, I mean, it is a weird transition to like make the switch. There were times in the beginning where I would eat and not feel full. Like, and again, it's kind of weird. Like, I believe the best thing for me to eat is like one food until I'm full. Like, I think that's the best. Now, I love my smoothies, I love my salads, but if I do the monofruit meal, which I do a lot, and I have like bananas and I'm hungry when I start, and I eat until I really can't eat anymore, which I don't know if that's healthy or not, but I'm just being real. That's what I do. I eat as many bananas as I possibly can. At the end of that, I'm quite sure that I could, if I really wanted to, eat like 3 or 4 or 5 pieces of pizza, not raw vegan pizza, but like, garbage, trash, junk food, something I used to absolutely love. So it's a different kind of feeling of full. The satiation, is that a word? That I don't feel like I need to continue to eat more. And I always try to be more mindful and just think about, like, I don't need to eat until I feel like full necessarily. I just need to make sure that over the course of a day, I'm getting enough calories and enough nutrients. And so for me, it's not really about like the satisfaction of eating anymore, the pleasure and comfort that I derive from eating, although I derive an extremely high amount of pleasure and comfort from eating now with this way. But it's different. It's totally different the pleasure and comfort I get is a different type of experience for me. And I know you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to describe it in words, but like when I finish my smoothie, it's a massive smoothie and I am very, very full. Could I continue to eat things that weren't healthy, like potato chips? Those are one of those things I could just eat potato chips forever and never feel full. But you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a hard question to answer. So because there are times where, you know, my kids or wife will be eating what appears to be a very healthy cooked vegan meal, and I'm like, man, I could totally do that. But I get my vegan crackers and my cheese out, and I maybe have a couple mangoes, and I feel great at the end of that. I feel like, okay, good. And then also there's a huge feeling of like, I did it. I'm committed to something and I'm sticking to it. And every day I think, wow, I did a whole nother day. I did my yoga today. I did my meditation. I ate raw all day long, you know, no exceptions.
Yeah.
And the feeling of like satisfaction, like you said, you're proud of me. I'm freaking proud of me. I'm very, very proud of myself. Who can do that? Who decides to do that and then execute? I would say very, very, very few people. And it's so just to think of that too, like as like I'm a light, you know what I mean? Because I think of every person, and there's been dozens, if not hundreds, of other people living the raw living food lifestyle that share, and they all have helped. Like I get something from every one of them that shares it in a positive way online. And I just think I want to be one of those. You know, I want to impact people and introduce people and inspire people to give it a shot and stick to it. And yeah, if it's hard, okay, it's hard. A lot of things in life are hard, but they're so worth it, you know.
So true. And you're proof that you can still do it in a household where everybody's not eating that way too, right? Like that's my household. Everybody's not raw. They're not vegan. So it's like, and I still manage it because I put myself first and I feel amazing this way. So that's why. And you're going to be, I think, doing some coaching, right? So I can link your stuff down below if you get into that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I have started coaching. I've started to build an online, just launched the opportunity for people to join my online, and I say people, I have to get specific. My online community is going to be just for men.
Yeah, cool.
And there's a very, very powerful reason behind it I can get into a little bit, but mainly men really need, one, to be called out and led in this way. And they also, it changes the whole culture of a community when it's just men and we're able to really let the walls down, get vulnerable, get emotionally vulnerable in a way that's very open to breakthroughs. And it's just different. It's just totally different. And I think that's kind of a unique thing. So the online community, the membership community is just for men. But yeah, there's opportunity for people to reach out individually, book an hour on the phone with me. And you know, if it wasn't for coaching and an online community for me, there's no way I could have gotten to where I've gotten to. It's like the shortcut. It's the fast track. It's the best thing. Can you do it solo? Obviously you can. You know, people have been doing it way before the internet for decades successfully. But to me, if there's a cheat code, I want it. And this is a cheat code and I'm not for everybody. I get that. I'm weird. I'm unique, but find somebody, if not me, find somebody, find some community that you can get into. And because to me, that was a major game changer in terms of my progress and my ability to stick to it and feel part of. We're all built to connect with one another at a deep level. If you don't believe that, think about the most introverted person you ever knew. And then back a few years ago when things got crazy and we had to stay inside and not talk to each other, think about the effect that had on those people that thought they were introverts. We are not designed to not connect. So if you can, and that's one of the things that makes this so difficult for most people is you do kind of alienate yourself, like you said, from the people that are closest to you. So when you can step away from that, even if just for an hour a day or even 10 minutes a day, and connect with an online community of everybody's doing the deal. Everybody's in the same, or, you know, on the same journey, but maybe in a different part. The strength that you get, the encouragement that you get, the support, the feeling of I'm not alone. I am one of many. And this is a movement and we are collectively doing this for a reason. And all those reasons are being constantly, you know, reinforced for you. It's powerful. It's very, very powerful. And I'm a leader. I've been a leader for many, many years. I've been a coach for many, many years. Not in this regard, but it's the idea of training, coaching, pouring love, support, encouragement, and then the accountability, high level accountability, especially for men. That's something I really enjoy, and I'm really good at it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, for sure. And okay, I want to ask you a few more questions. Okay, so weight. I know people will ask me about weight with this journey.
Yeah.
Did you have any weight changes throughout the journey? And we'll start with that because I tend to ask 5 questions at a time. Let's start with that, and then I'll ask the next one.
I tend to answer like 50 when you ask one. So but yeah, weight was a big one for me because although I never was like what most people would consider to be like obese or struggled really, really bad with my weight, like I'm at 165 right now and I'm 5'10" and a half. And I mean, again, not to sound like arrogant, but I look really, really good naked. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, I've never looked in the mirror naked and thought like, and I said this to my wife the night before last. I said, I look amazing. And it wasn't like a cocky, like arrogant, like I look better than everybody. I just feel like I look really, really good. The balance of my body. Yes, I'm very lean. Most of my hater friends, my frenemies online, is that they'll say, oh, you look really, really skinny. And I kind of do, I would love my frame with like an extra 20 or 30 or 40 pounds of pure muscle. But I also am very realistic and I choose health above that. So like I'm working hard in the gym and my diet. I loved the Carr interview you did. And I'm inspired big time. Is that his name? Ted Carr? Is that his name?
Oh, Ted Carr. Yeah, so he put on a lot of muscle. Okay, Ted came to Toronto, I guess it was 2 weeks ago or so now, and we did some in-person podcasts, and those will be up by the time this goes up. I'll link them down below. He looks even better in person. He has got great fitness level going on.
Yeah.
He looks really good. So yeah, he's very inspiring. I'm glad that interview inspired you. I'll link it below.
It did. It really did. And I think that was the one where he really dialed in his diet, the one I'm thinking of. And so I went juice fasting for 100 days. I dropped 40 pounds ish. I went from like 210 to like whatever, 170. Actually, it might have been a little bit more than that. Yeah. So I think around 40 pounds. Watch the interview. I think I talk more in detail about that. But then I started the refeed. Magri Jade, I alluded to this. She came up with this wonderful refeed. It was like, long, and I failed miserably. I mean, I think day 2 or 3, I'm like, hey, Magri, I'm eating this, Alfredo, Ravin cashew Alfredo, like kelp noodle. But I just went off the rails and I started doing dates and nut butters like late at night, like a whole bunch. And so like, I don't know, when you don't eat for 100 days and you have the type of like addictive type, I went and I gained back probably 15 pounds within a month or two. And that's what opened me up to, and I still looked decent. I still felt and looked very better than I did, but I saw myself, and that's why one of the many reasons where the intermittent fasting, I was like, that makes a lot of sense, and you start to learn about it. I was like, man, I think, and again, it was just another program or opportunity for me to like, it gave me rails. It gave me like okay, if I can just stick to this, then I can, and it'd be a lot healthier for me. And then, so that has helped me regulate too. So that got me down to like 165. But again, my muscle tone, maybe the next interview I do with you, I'll just like have my shirt off because it's impressive. I mean, I got great balance, great. And I've been getting a lot of sun, so I've got a nice tan going on, but it's, I'm holding pretty steady at around 165, which again, a lot of people think, oh man, for 5'10", you're too skinny. But for me, it just feels really good. So long answer to a very simple question, I guess.
That's what matters. And I was going to ask you if you felt like, okay, so you've been doing it a year. I was going to ask you if you've made any mistakes in that year, looking back, and you would do things differently if you started now. But I mean, I think you kind of just explained a few with now you're doing the intermittent fasting. You're not eating a bunch of like nut butters late at night and stuff like that, like high fat. Was there anything else that comes to mind? Or if you were to start again today, maybe you'd do something differently?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think it's really important to point out that all of my little quote unquote failures have been things that really have led me to where I'm at right now. And I wouldn't be where I'm at right now had I not experienced all these little like late night binging on things that I shouldn't and blah, 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 blah. But in the very beginning, coming off the juice fast, it was like, okay, I'm going to commit to just the raw thing. Like I'm just going to commit to raw because that's enough, right? Raw vegan. That's a tall order. That's like spitting in the face of all conformity and societal, but outside of that, I'm just going to do whatever I want. So if it's raw, like it's game on. It was kind of my thought. And then I don't know, I was like, why would I limit myself to only raw when I could feel even better doing intermittent fasting? So let me just try it out. And I was like, because I'm a big try it out kind of guy. So I tried it out and I was like, wow, I'm sleeping better. I wake up feeling way more refreshed. I love the focus, the clarity, the digestion issues had way, way, way improved. Because when you go 100 days on juice and then you go back to it takes a while for your guts to like wake back up to life and you to start rebuilding your gut microbiome in a different capacity. So I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, honestly, all those quote unquote mistakes were opportunities for me to like learn. And I didn't lose, all my teeth or I didn't do it long enough to like create massive problems. I did gain back 15 pounds and then had to quote unquote lose it again. But really it was easy. It was just a matter of like saying, okay, Dan, stop eating at 6 p.m. And some nights it's hard. I mean, last night we were watching a movie, the kids had popcorn. Yeah, sure. I smell the popcorn and I want to eat popcorn. Could I go to the fridge and get raw crackers and cheese or some fruit? Yes, I could. But I think about how am I going to feel tomorrow morning when I wake up? Yeah. I wake up at 3:30 in the morning and I jump up out of bed excited. And I do that's partially because one, I go to bed really early, like with my 2-year-old, that she goes to bed and then daddy goes to bed. But also like food, it matters like a lot for me. When I eat late at night, I don't wake up, I don't sleep as good, and I don't wake up feeling as, I've gotten way more sensitive, as you might.
Well, I eat good to feel good. That's how I think too at night. And eat those things late at night, I'm gonna wake up, my eyes are gonna feel more tired. It's gonna take me longer to get out of bed. Whereas before you're like up, and so it's just all about starting your day feeling good. And I just feel like eating the intermittent fasting really helps with that. I did a video on that. I'll link it below. But anyway, my viewers, they are just the best and nicest viewers on the planet. They're amazing and they have some great questions for you. So I'd love to ask you some of them. And if you don't want to answer any of them, then feel free to just say, this isn't but most of the time I think they're fine. Okay, so one says, how did you get through family gatherings? I know we talked about that a little bit, but if there's anything else you want to add.
I'm a leader, and I don't believe that I'm a natural leader necessarily, but I do believe I was born with the natural capacity to lead. And so I guess that's a big deal for me because I kind of like, I'm not afraid to walk into a large get together, family or otherwise, and be the guy that brought a salad or be the guy with a bunch of fruit and be the guy that gets approach. Like my wife will brag on me and people will become intrigued. She'll say something, yeah, Dan's on day, what day are you on, hon? And because I count the days and I get excited about the commitment to it. And also it's fun to to share it with people. And then I always like to bring them into the conversation, so it's not just me blasting like raw food is good, raw food is the best, blah blah blah. It's, hey, have you ever, what are you doing, what kind of way, how do you eat, what do you enjoy, do you like, what kind of fruit do you like? And then almost everybody and anybody could be inspired or encouraged in a level to just increase the amount of raw fruit maybe that they eat in a day, or, something easy like that. But again, I look at it as an opportunity. I kind of get excited about it, like, because I'll plan, like we went to the beach yesterday and I planned it out. I mean, my cooler was just slam full of juice. You know what I mean? That's all I did. I just tons of juice, watermelon and pineapple and green juice. And I mean, we met up with some friends. We ran into some other friends we didn't know were going to be there. And it's an opportunity to go there. Oh, you're doing the juice. Yeah, I'm doing the juice, man. What'd you bring? What are you eating? And just, again, it's just an opportunity. I never go and just think, man, this sucks. I don't get to eat what they get to eat. It's like, good. I get to sit next to them while they eat whatever kind of crazy, weird, dead things they're eating. And I get to just smile and eat my great food. And that has a major impact. Like that is going to, people remember, like, and I kind of like to be known as, I was talking to a guy that I'm helping right now doing some coaching with. And he was like, you're the first health nut that I've ever gotten to actually talk to. And I just thought, like, I'm the health nut now. Like I don't.
Yeah. No, it's good. And it makes you feel happier. Like those social gatherings, the way I look at it too is you feel happier. I feel happier eating this way and like bringing my walnuts and blueberries. I feel like I want to be there more and I feel more present and excited. and I'm better to be around because I'm eating this way versus if I started like drinking that wine that they're having or eating those chips or having those other things, I'm just gonna dull me down and I'm not the same person. And you
Right.
inspire people. They're like, oh, what are you doing? You don't need to drink, you just don't need to eat these foods. What? Okay, somebody else said, what kept you motivated? Good
Yeah,
question.
it's a great one. I'm a very motivated individual, and I will tell you, eating raw food kept me motivated because I really do feel like it's a spiritual, and some people get triggered when you say that because they think that like if they're not eating 100% raw or whatever, that they're not as spiritual or whatever. But again, just my thing is like it's a spiritual connection. When I'm spiritually connected to the divine, to the divine third and the one, whatever that is for you. For me, I believe in God, and I believe in that, and so motivation is to me all about putting in the positive. So I start my day reading something positive. This is how I start my morning. Every single morning is the same way, and then I immediately follow that with meditation, where I get quiet, I close my eyes, I relax my body, I slow my breath, and I set an alarm and I meditate for 15 minutes every day. Then I journal for like 30 minutes every day. This is a huge part of how I stay motivated. My morning routine. Again, it starts at 3:30 in the morning. So then after I meditate or after I journal, I do my yoga, and it's about an hour long routine of yoga. And then I work out, lift weights. I get on a meeting with a whole bunch of other people that are doing what I'm doing or on the same journey in terms of recovery. And then I walk out in nature unless it's pouring rain like it was this morning. But like also I'm big on content. Like I'm a consumer of positive content. I'm picky about who I watch. And so you should feel honored and privileged because no, I'm just kidding. But
I'm honored. Yeah.
but your channel is it's like the best of the best, the cream of the, I mean, there's a handful of other really, really decent ones. And I'm not limiting it just to raw food or even just food or health. It's there's spiritual gurus that I seek out and glean from. And then there's mindset coaches and all but YouTube is pay for the premium, get it with no ads. I love to just, as I'm driving to an appointment or whatever, I'm listening to something that keeps me so positive. Other people's stories, other people's experience, strength and hope. So inspiring to me. Mm-hmm. I love like John Rose with the shirt off, acting all crazy and screaming about. I mean, just there's so many great people that have written books, that are online speaking, that are just the content's there. And again, it's almost as important to remove the other content as it is to introduce the positive content. So that's another big thing is I've removed a lot of I just don't really get entertained from a lot of the mundane mainstream, like I can't just watch TV or watch the news or watch a movie even and feel like I do it for my kids. Like we'll go to the movies, but like I just assume watch an interview with you and somebody, like I get so much out of that in terms of motivation.
What about relationships? Did any of your relationships change since your raw journey, or like any big life shifts or anything other than everything you've mentioned?
Yes and no. I will say that I had a really, really powerful network of people that supported me and loved me and already accepted me for kind of being the weirdo that's not afraid to just kind of spit in the face of like the mainstream narrative and do the crazy weird. And so in that regard, not major changes, but like my wife and I had some, bumps for sure. Like there was some adjustments that I needed to do big time in terms of my level of acceptance, just because she's not wanting to do 100% fully raw right now doesn't mean that I can't accept her and love her and encourage her and really also kind of like mind my own damn business. Like if she wants to eat some cooked food that I don't think is as healthy as, a salad, get over it. Like I'm not in charge of what she gets to eat at all. So that was a big one for me, I guess, is my relationship with my wife. And it's probably never been healthier than it is right now. She started to go, and she wouldn't mind me sharing this because it would help, but she started going and seeing somebody professionally to help deal with some stuff. We've both had to do that collectively and individually for many, many years. And so, for couples that are watching it, yeah, it is challenging. I mean, several other people know it can be very, very challenging, but most of that comes from me. You know what I mean? Most of that I can control by changing the way that I really accept her
Yeah,
and
let's
think,
talk with someone. I have a therapist, Dr. Doug Lyle.
okay,
Freaking, I have talked to a few therapists over the years, and then once I started talking, I don't know if you've heard of him. I think he's been on YouTube
heaven.
before. Once I
Okay,
started
cool.
talking to Doug Lyle, he just makes things make sense. I get off the call after the hour and I feel 1,000 times better. And he just puts things into perspective. And I think that's how you should feel. After some therapy sessions, I used to get off with certain people and I would feel way worse. And I'd be like, hey, this isn't helping because this is making me feel
Right.
way worse. This guy is amazing. And yeah, relationships can be hard,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. My husband and we met when I was 17. I was a totally different person. Didn't expect to go raw halfway through the marriage. And it's not easy. We're trying our best to keep our family together, but it's definitely not easy. But okay, so another question. What helped you want to quit cooked vegan food? I'm mostly raw, but it's still a struggle for me. I think that's a good question. What helped you want to quit the cooked food, the cooked vegan food?
Yeah, it's weird because I didn't ever really think of it as like I want to quit the cooked vegan food. I really thought of it more like I want to try out what all these people, because I intentionally sought out people like you and people like Shane and people like Magri and people that had done the deal and were sharing their experience. And it was totally inspiring. I hear people say, we only changed for two reasons: inspiration and desperation. And health wise, I hadn't reached the desperation point. I didn't have any major like health crisis type things, which do drive a lot of people to raw food. But I was inspired, majorly inspired. And I thought, man, I want to give this a shot. So I never really looked at it through the lens of like, oh, I have to give up my cooked vegan food. It was like, I'm going to try this thing out and I don't know how it's going to go. And it's probably going to be hard and it might even suck, but I really want to try this thing out. And partially to be able to say, I did it. Like, I really love to be able to get on your show and say, hey, I did it. I did 365 days in a row and I'm still going. That's a big deal. Like, how many people do that? Not very many. And I think it takes people like us to do it and then share to help other people say, come on in, the water's fine. Because a big part of being human is we kind of need that. You know what I mean? We need the social proof in terms of like, well, if Jillian can do it for 7 years, then there's a good chance I'll be able to as well. So I don't know. I'd say if you're struggling, maybe it's not time yet. You know what I mean? Don't beat yourself up. I know nothing ever good comes from that. So I would say just don't beat yourself up over it and just introduce more raw food, more and more and more. I know I'm weird. And so for me, I've always been the jump right in kind of guy and the cut all cords and burn your boat. And we're doing this starting now. And there's no looking back. And not most people are not like that. So I've had to learn that with my coaching too. It's like most people are totally open for like the gradual shift, you know what I mean? Which may include,
like, let's do it all. Let's do it now. Yeah,
and there's pros and cons to both, but I think most people, it's just a matter of like slowly shifting. Atomic Habits, that book by James Clear, really helped me to get that, but just slowly transitioning, just adding in one more, serving of raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds a day, or even a week. Just do it one serving a week. And then over time, you'll get to the point where it's like, could you eat the cooked vegan food? Sure. But you're already getting all your calories. Like, it's easier to just take a walk. And that's another thing I do too. Like, when I have that thought pop in, like, ooh, I should, eat something. No, not necessarily. Maybe I should just take a walk or take a bath or just relax, sit down and just breathe, and focus on my breath, or go play with my kids, or I don't know.
those are some things you do, the cravings hit too, right? Like, because there's a lot
Absolutely. 1,000%. And
about
that's what I thought about when you said,
cravings, how to make it through the cravings.
yeah,
There's just tons of questions about the cravings. So if there's
yeah.
anything you want to add on that too.
Well, I'm an addict, I'm a recovered addict, and there's always recovering or recovered. I'm recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. I've recovered from a bunch of addictions, and cravings and addictions, they go hand in hand. So I'm an expert in terms of recovery and addiction, recovery from addiction, because I have my own personal experience. I'm not formally educated, but who would you rather, be coached by? Somebody that has all the schooling and the formal education, or somebody that's lived it and helped other people overcome. So in terms of that, I am an expert. And I'll say, as an expert, I need somebody else to help me. And that whether you hire me or any other coach professionally, there are people that will help you and can help you for free that are willing to, you just have to seek them out and say, I need help. It's hard as a man raised up in our society to say, I need help. I'm a wreck. I'm having food cravings. I can't stop eating this junk. I can't stop, whatever your affliction is. I mean, food is just one many, and it's okay to say, I have an unhealthy, inappropriate relationship with food. It's not helping me. It's not serving my highest good, but I need help. I need somebody to, help me specifically to say, and that's what I'm doing now, working with people. And it feels so good to listen really, really well to somebody as they pour their, and then just intuitively know what question to ask to help them dive a little deeper and go, okay, it's really not about the food. It's not about the cravings. It's about something else emotionally, usually. And we store these emotions in our body, and we use things like food and other addictions to numb out, to dull down, to not have to deal. Wayne Dyer, love his quote. If you want to know why you smoke cigarettes, stop smoking cigarettes. Because when we stop, using the things we use to push the stuff down and we just let it come up, we have an opportunity to overcome it. We got to go through it, though, to overcome it. But there's a lot of great books out there. There's a lot of great people out there that are in a position to help you. And I love that you shared your thing about your therapist. I mean, that's powerful. People need to hear that kind of stuff, because I got put in therapy when I was very young. And maybe because of that, I've never had a problem saying, yeah, I need a therapist. I need a counselor. I need to be able to walk in and say, I need help, and have somebody listen to me, even if I'm paying them money to just listen to me. Best money I've spent. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. So know that you're not alone. There's help out there, and it's okay to say, I need help, and get help. Be open to receiving it. Have a level of humility where you can let somebody else speak into your life and say, Dan, you're amazing, or Jillian, you're incredible. You're on the right. And I need that too. It's not an ego thing. It's like it just is a feed my soul type of thing. We all need to be told that we're loved and we're lovable and that we're worthy. And, if not by ourselves, hire somebody to tell you that. Because again, it needs to be said and it needs to be heard.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's hard to unload on the people we know and the people we're close to. And if you've been going through something for a while, like I had been with the relationship and with the marriage and stuff, you only want to unload on your friends and family so much before they're like, hey, like, you know what I mean? So that's why a therapist can be good. Because I mean, people don't want to, people are there for you. They're your friends and family, but there's only so much negativity you want to bring to them, right? So
100%. And I love that you also shared about, you said, I didn't plan to go raw halfway through my marriage. You talked about how you met your husband when you were only 17. And I thought about that too with Angela, my wife. Like, she didn't sign up for this. She didn't sign up to get married to some whack job that's going to go, I'm going fully raw vegan. You know what I mean? And have some like compassion. And so, because, it's challenging to be with somebody who does what I've done and continues to just take it up a notch. And I mean, she does yoga with me here and there. It's just, she's not militant about and that's okay. Thank goodness she's not like me. Can you imagine if I was married to somebody like me? I mean, I need the yin and the yang. She balances me out so much in that regard. But I love that, again, you said that, because that's so true. It's like, and who knows where the journey is going to lead us.
Your relationship has improved then since you've gone raw, right? I think some people fear to make their relationship worse if they go raw, but for you, it's improved things on the relationship front.
1000%. And I'm a huge advocate for, if their kids are involved, like no matter what, you work on the relate. To me, I mean, I know I'm divorced, so I know there are times where relationships are just, they're done. But when kids are involved, and again, I'm not speaking just to you, but I love the fact that you and your husband are making it work. And I know you're not doing it just for the kids, but like, I'm a huge advocate for, like, if there's a major problems in the relationship, good. It's an opportunity to deal with them and overcome. If you bail, guess what? Those, again, just my belief, but this is also my experience. Those same issues are going to recreate themselves again and again and again until you actually go, hey, I'm going to deal with it. I have a good friend of mine who's been divorced 4 times. Wow. What's the common denominator? Him. You know what I mean? Like, he could blame all 4 of the marriage, the other party, but like, he's consistently the one that's showing up and the relationship goes bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's a ton of things my wife could work on to improve, but there are so many that I can work on improve. I do not need to concern myself with anything that she's not doing that she should be or whatever, when I've got so many major issues myself.
True. It's a good point. Yeah, good points. No, yeah, my husband's like that too, more like you. Like, we're family, we have kids, we're making this work no matter what. And I've kind of more been the one like, okay, there's problems, like I'm gonna bounce, I'm gonna bail, this doesn't work. And I think part of that might be just because of the background with my family. They were divorced, and anytime there was conflict or fights within like other family members, people were like, I'm out of here, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't really bounced. We have been together 23 years, a long time. We were 17 at the same time. I'm a totally different person. It is like my therapist said, right? You didn't expect to go raw vegan, like, and all these things. And we had a lot, he travels for work. So that's when our problems really started, having a month apart and then home for 2 weeks, a month apart. Anyway, I won't unload on you guys anymore, but yeah, so back to the question. So some other people are asking, do you eat salt?
Yeah. So that's a good one. Ashamedly so. Like, again, when I was like, I'm just going to do raw, I'm not going to overly concern myself, because I didn't realize there's so many different types of raw. There's like, oh, I'm 80-10-10 raw. Oh, I'm high fat raw. I'm low fat raw. There's so many types of, I should have known, right? And we love the label and this and that and the other. I don't think salt is necessarily good for us. I mean, I'm in that in-betweeny camp right now. Like, there's an influencer that I follow that, like, he doesn't demonize salt, but he calls it out. And then of course, Shane. I love Shane. I've hired Shane. He's amazing. But he says, hey, you want salt? Eat some salt. But again, for me, salt can become very addictive. A little bit, and I'm like, ooh, I need a little bit more, a little bit more. Today, like, celery tastes salty to me. And I love that celery tastes salty to me because it's never tasted salty to me before. I use very little, but like when I make my nut cheese, it doesn't taste like nut cheese unless it has a little salt. You know what I mean? I'm not quite ready to give that up. Maybe I'll get to the point where I'm, where I don't want salt or I don't use salt, but I do. Long answer to a very simple, easy question. So
yeah,
I try to be mindful of how much and how often and all that stuff. So,
you know what? I use a little bit of iodized sea salt from Greece. It's a really clean one. It has a little bit of iodine for like an iodine source, because I know that can be hard to get on our lifestyle. I mean, it's in kelp noodles and a few other things, but that brings me to my next question. Somebody was asking, do you supplement? I take it all in one. I'll link it below. It has like B12, zinc, K2, D, iodine, all this stuff. So, but what about you? Have you been supplementing at all or no?
yeah, I do. I inject B12. So I've been doing that, where it's an injection, just because it's so much better absorbed from the body when you inject it. And also, if you didn't realize, people are like, oh, you got to take supplements if you're a vegan. Well, they inject B12 into livestock, and that's how most people get the B12. But most people are deficient. 40% of the population is deficient in B12. 40% of the population is not vegan. I think we're although we are growing and we're approaching a tipping point. So get ready, buckle up. It's about to go crazy. But yeah, I supplement. B12 is the most obvious. But when I talk about my superfoods, I mean, most of that stuff would be considered a supplement. Daily Green Boost, I love that powder. I take it ashwagandha, maca root, lucuma. There's some good videos on my channel of all the things that I put in that smoothie. But yeah, there's some supplements that I take every day. So
okay, cool. And somebody said, how's your cravings for foods you used to love? And what effect has this diet had on, I don't know how to say this word, if it's safe for YouTube, for things down there, for the department down there? Has it affected that area at all?
Okay. Yeah, not really. I've always, in that department down there, I'm only 41. So, I mean, it was probably coming had I continued to eat the way I was eating, but it's always been very much healthy, fine, good to go. No complaints at all. The craving thing, I think we've kind of pounded the drum. I've talked, I think, in pretty good detail about the cravings.
Yeah. And somebody said, how much is your weekly grocery bill?
See, that's another thing I need to take better time to calculate, because I've had many people ask me that. I have no idea. We've been blessed financially to the point where I don't really shop I'm not really concerned about how much things cost. I look at it like it's an opportunity to invest into my health. And anytime I'm looking at an opportunity to invest, period, I've always been very like, how much can I put down? How much can I buy? You know what I mean? And that's kind of the same thing. Not that I like intentionally want to spend more, but like there's a big paradigm shift when it's like, I see something that I know is really, really healthy. This goes for supplements too. Maybe they're not necessarily cheap or even what most people would classify as affordable, but I don't really care because it's like, it's this now or something really expensive and painful and on the back end later. And I just assume invest on the upfront now into my health.
Yeah, I agree. And somebody said, what was the hardest thing? And what detox symptoms did you have? I think you talked a little bit about that, but if you want to expand it off.
Yeah, I don't think I do. I think we've pretty much covered all that. I didn't have a lot of detox. I'll say that I didn't have tremendous amounts of detox. So
yeah, okay. And somebody said, what are your top go-to books and places for recipes?
One of my top go-to books is this one here, 12 Steps to Raw Food. I love this book because it says how to end your dependency on cooked foods. Victoria Buenco, I think it is Buentenko or something like that. She's amazing. I've read this book like 3 or 4 times. My mom's read this book multiple times. Fit for Life is another really, really good one. If you want more book recommendations, subscribe to my channel because I'm a huge reader. I love books. Like you, I'm a huge Abraham Hicks fan. And so, you know, Law of Attraction, The Vortex, all things Abraham Hicks I love. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. A lot of them are not like raw food books, but
The ones that
it all kind of goes together, I guess.
yeah.
To some degree.
Cool. Well, this has been awesome. I've loved hearing your story. I think you're incredible. And I loved having you on for your juice interview. And you came on, I think, when you were 3 months raw in the beginning.
Yeah.
You've been a big change. You've done amazing. You look amazing. I can tell you feel amazing. Your vibe is high, and I'm proud of you. And if anything else you want to end off with, anything you feel you want to share that we missed, or any words of encouragement for somebody who might want to be where you're sitting one day and make it to 1 year or reach the health goals you've reached, then absolutely get those out right now. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So this is an opportunity I want to talk about the ethical side of veganism, because vegan is it's an ethical thing. It's not a diet thing. It's not a health thing. It's when you say vegan, it's an ethical thing. Okay. Which really, it's not just about, you know, animal welfare or less cruelty. It's about like changing the way that we interact with the other beings in the world. So with that in mind, when I first got into the plant-based, you know, foods like 7 years ago, ethics and animal rights and justice for animals and liberation for animals was not on the radar. Matter of fact, it was not even like I honestly could care less. And I would have told you that I don't really care at all about that. And I knew that vegan, the word, was more than just not eating animal products. It meant a lot of other things. And as a result, I was kind of like, people would say, oh, Dan's a vegan. I'd say, no, I'm not vegan. I'm plant-based, you know, and I wasn't ready to be a vegan in a lot of ways because I didn't have the education that I have now. Now I'm doing activism and I'm talking to people that eat meat and dairy and eggs, and they are like I used to be. They're not informed as to what really happens in our world every single day for us to continue to do what we've been doing. And basically what we've been doing is not okay at all. And if you are watching this and you don't know, I promise there's a part of you, a big, big part of you, that if you would allow yourself to get back into touch with that part of you, I'm talking about that innocent 3 or 4 or 5-year-old that we all were at one point. If we watched the stuff that we should watch and is horrible to watch, but if we subject ourselves to it, we get in touch with that part of it, we will instinctively know, we will inherently know that we need to change. If not for our health, for our ethics, for moral, it's not okay to continue to do what we're doing to animals. So if you haven't watched the documentary Dominion or Earthlings, they're highly, highly disturbing. Okay. But I'm proud to say that I've subjected my children to watching that. I've watched it multiple times. I've had to stop it, crying, like sobbing, because it rocked my freaking world. But I went back and I finished it. And that's one of the things that propelled me into not just being a vegan, not just being an ethical vegan, but to say, I'm going to do some activism, which is really just talking to people, which I'm obviously good at, but believe it or not, I can listen well too now, and I'm getting better at that. But, you know, that's the only way this thing's ever going to change, is to help people realize that the reason, like, first of all, watch that stuff. Does it bother you? Yes, it will bother anybody unless you're completely psychotic. But
Yeah.
okay, well, why does it occur? It occurs because of our demand for those products, period. How do you change the demand? You talk to people and you educate them about, hey, you know, veganism is, this is what it is. This is what it's all about. And don't be one of those weirdos that just crams your beliefs down people's throat. Listen to people and then relate to them and go, yeah, I remember I used to love to eat meat too, you know, and relate, and then tell them the truth, you know, and the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off, you know, and don't be afraid to, I don't want to say piss people off, but don't be afraid to confront people and confront their beliefs, their cognitive dissonance, and say, hey, this isn't okay. You know what I mean? Because it's not. It is not okay at all. Again, it's easy. The raw food thing is easy to go, oh, raw food, because it's health, 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 health. But the truth is there's a lot more to it than, and some people are raw vegan, but they're living food diet. They don't even want to be labeled as a vegan. But I am proud to be an ethical vegan today. And I think that that is another way to cheat and make it super, super easy. It's not easy when it's all about you. But if you make it about the animals, man, it's easy, especially for a man. We're instinctually provide and protect. And if you look at Dominion and you go, okay, as a man, we're messing up big time. We need to draw a line and say, this is not cool. We need to speak out, speak up, and be the change that we want to see.
Well said. Amazing, Dan. You've evolved so much in this journey. I love it. And I love you. I think you're amazing and you're headed down a great path. I can't wait to see where you're at a year from now. We'll have to have you on for follow-up. And keep it going, keep doing videos, and everybody go follow Dan. I'll link his channel below. If you're interested in a coach, I'll link his information below. He's awesome. Who better to get a coach with than somebody who's recently done it for a year? So it's pretty cool. You can relate a lot. But yeah, you're awesome to the viewers. I hope you guys love this. If you did, give it a thumbs up right now and make sure to subscribe if you don't already. And be sure to check out the details for the event. I hope to see you guys at that event, and it will, I think it'll fill up really quick because it's only an intimate 500 person event with 𝑼𝑺𝑬 𝑪𝑶𝑫𝑬. I'm really excited. So I hope to see you guys there as well. Love you guys. Bye.
Thanks.